Michael Popok, Legal AF, got some breaking news. The judge has asked Michael Cohen, who is about to testify as early as next week in the Trump trial for criminal interference, to stop going after Donald Trump. The judge asked it nicely. He didn't subject Michael Cohen to a gag order, but he wanted the prosecutors to communicate to Michael Cohen, who's going to be one of the lead witnesses against Donald Trump, that he would prefer, the judge would prefer, if Michael Cohen didn't spend the weekend or between now and the time that he testifies talking about the case, talking about his testimony, or particularly kind of lampooning or criticizing Donald Trump. That's a direct message from the judge, an oral order, if you will, from the bench. Let me tell you how we got there. And we'll talk about Michael Cohen's testimony, which we expect next week. Sort of a sideshow on this, but I think we have to cover it. We don't blow smoke or sunshine on this network. Todd Blanche, during a break in action, trial went dark today a bit early, and there won't be more trial time today, but there was time for the lawyers to raise some issues. Todd Blanche popped up like a Pop-Tart out of a toaster, and his first thing on his mind was Michael Cohen. And Todd Blanche said that Mr. Cohen continues to speak publicly about this trial and President Trump as recently, I believe, as Wednesday night. I wonder what show that was. He was wearing a white T-shirt with a picture of President Trump behind bars in an orange jumpsuit. He should be prohibited from talking the same way President Trump is. It's becoming a problem. Mr. Blanche continued in his argument every single day that President Trump is not allowed to respond to this witness, but this witness is allowed to talk. Our request is that the court order the government instruct the witness to not talk about President Trump or the case until the case is over. Before I give you what Judge Merchan finally ruled, this is all much ado about nothing. Michael Cohen is not a named party in this case. He's not subject to the gag order, and he has his own First Amendment rights to free speech. The judge has already said that in his extended, enlarged gag order, that if a witness like Michael Cohen, although he didn't name him by name, continues to demonstrate that he doesn't need the protection of the court, is not intimidated by Donald Trump, which we know Michael's not. Just have to watch Political Beatdown with Ben Meiselas and Michael Cohen to understand that. If he doesn't need the protection, he's not going to allow, and this is directly from the judge a couple of weeks ago, he's not going to allow any witness, named Michael Cohen or otherwise, use the gag order as a sword and a shield. In other words, Donald Trump is gagged, so these witnesses who don't need protection and can take care of their own, can take care of themselves, go after Donald Trump. He's not going to allow that because he's sensitive to even Donald Trump's First Amendment rights. So that's sort of how we got there. And Michael Michael's a lawyer, former lawyer, and he's got competent counsel who's been guiding him along in the process. And I think what he's been doing and saying has been fine. But he is about to take the stand probably as early as next week. I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. It's somewhere next week. As soon as the prosecutors think in the momentum of their presentation, it's a good time for Michael Cohen. They're not going to put him on before his time. They're not going to put him on before they think the jury is conditioned and ready for the arrival of Michael Cohen. What I mean is that all the other witnesses inside the Trump organization, low-level executive assistants, high-level executive assistants, accounts payable people, some people Donald Trump may not even remember the name of, people that work for Donald Trump in the White House, people that work for Donald Trump in the White House and followed him to the Trump organization. All those people that make the Trump organization go and can confirm all of the important data points in Michael Cohen's testimony before he even testifies will have to have been put on before Michael Cohen. That's what they're doing right now. So Michael is having a bit of fun. That's fine. First Amendment right. He's a podcaster. He's allowed to do that as long as it doesn't interfere with the criminal justice system. And that's what the judge is trying to balance. So after hearing the arguments of Todd Blanche, which frankly the prosecutors looked a little sheepish and didn't really defend it, other than to say Michael Cohen is not subject to the gag order, Your Honor. What their response was really by Josh Steinglass was, we have asked the witness not to do that. We've asked all witnesses not to do what Michael's done. The fact of the matter is these witnesses are not subject to the gag order. We have no remedy if they engage in those activities. So the judge said the following. Here's the order. Here's kind of the heart of the hot take. I will direct the people, meaning the prosecutors, to direct to Mr. Cohen that the judge is asking him. He didn't say pretty please, but it's sounding like that. The judge is asking him to refrain from making any more statements about this case or Mr. Trump. It's a little bit of a put upon judge here. That comes from the bench, and you are communicating that on behalf of the bench. Now, as officers of the court, the prosecutors will get Michael Cohen's representative, will get Michael Cohen's lawyer on the phone and tell the lawyer, the judge has asked, pretty please, if Mr. Cohen could refrain from continuing to go after Donald Trump or mention Donald Trump or to paraphrase Will Smith, to have Donald Trump's name in his mouth between now and the time that he testifies. Now, once he testifies, he can do whatever he likes. But what the judge is trying to do is walk that fine line between being the protector of the criminal justice administration of justice process to give Donald Trump a fair shot, balance the First Amendment rights of Donald Trump, which we hate, but he has. We hate to listen to, but he does have it in our country, with his obligations as a criminal defendant. Or as I put it to one of our Legal AF people in a chat, the judge has to balance the First Amendment rights of Donald Trump with his Sixth Amendment rights to be entitled to a fair trial. And there's always that tension between the First and the Sixth Amendment, battling it out. Okay. And they're not prioritized. Not like the First Amendment is higher than the Sixth Amendment. I mean, they're just numbered amendments. And so what's the bottom line here? Michael will, I am sure, with good lawyering and good counsel, good advice, not be mentioning Donald Trump on his podcasts or wherever he does his best work. And he will save his best work for the courtroom, inside the wood paneling of the courtroom, in front of a jury where it matters. All this other extrajudicial stuff outside the courtroom. It's interesting. I can't, it's like a train wreck. I can't take my eyes off of it, but it's not the justice system, and it's not proof, and it's not facts, and it's not evidence, and it's not on the scales of justice. It's just noise around the trial. And it's not typical, as we know, but Donald Trump's not a typical defendant. And let's be frank, Michael's not a typical witness. So I think it's in everybody's best interest that people follow the lead, follow the directions of Judge Merchan, which I know they will. And we'll hear what Michael has to say. I mean, listen, Michael's been very public. We know what he's going to say, and we know why he's being put on. There were 3 participants in the Trump Tower conspiracy, as outlined by Josh Steinglass and Matt Colangelo in their opening to the jury. 3 participants: Donald Trump, David Pecker, National Enquirer, Michael Cohen. 2 out of the 3 are going to testify. I don't think Donald Trump will. And they are consistent in their testimony about the development of the catch and kill program raised by David Pecker. He'd be the eyes and ears. They would use checkbook journalism to buy off bad stories about Donald Trump's wrongful sexual misconduct while he was running for office. And that accelerated after the Access Hollywood now infamous hot mic moment happened, and Donald Trump worried about losing the election in that October surprise of October 2016 when that got revealed. So the jury has heard from the campaign people like Hope Hicks and the people about the check writing, and they know from the opening and from David Pecker how this sort of worked, and from lower level employees who talked about the physical checks, the documents, the information. It's the checks, not the sex, right? Now, Michael Cohen is going to talk about his role on the receiving end. You know, he'll admit that he issued false legal invoices for services not rendered as a lawyer in order to get reimbursed for the money he laid out for Donald Trump to pay off Stormy Daniels. It's not that hard. He set up a phony company at Donald Trump's request. This is Michael Cohen. He's going to admit to this. We know this. I don't have inside knowledge. I'm just telling you what I know. He's going to say that. We know. He's written in books. He said it before. He's written a number of books. He's been on podcasting, including on this network. We know it. He set up a phony company. He issued phony invoices, and willingly, Alan Weisselberg, the chief financial officer, Jeff McConney, the controller for Donald Trump himself, Donald Trump's assistants, all participated in a scheme once the invoices were submitted, to pay Michael Cohen up to $400,000, including a gross up to cover his income tax for the phony income. Michael Cohen is the recipient of all that. He issued the invoices, he got the money, he took out the loan, he opened up the fake straw man company that was used to interface with Stormy Daniels' lawyer. He negotiated with Stormy Daniels' lawyer. He has to testify. But you can see most of what I just said, including all that documentary evidence, has already come in. That bell has been rung over and over again, conditioning the jury for the arrival of Michael Cohen. Hooray, Michael Cohen's arrival, right? And now you see the importance of this. Really dots the I's and crosses the T's for the jury. He'll also talk about the surreptitious secret recordings he made of Donald Trump, some of which have been played, but not all of which have been played for the jury. And I assure you, having tried dozens of cases, the jury is going to be at rapt attention and leaning forward, not back, when those audio recordings are played. And then they're going to have Michael Cohen do color commentary under oath as a witness about his conversations with Donald Trump, even the ones that weren't recorded. What did he mean by that? What did you mean by that? What did you take that to mean? What did you understand that to mean? Michael Cohen speaks Trump. It's like a foreign language. He'll be able to translate, right? It's like Mandarin Chinese. When he says this, what does he mean? When he says that, is that a euphemism for something else? Whatever. Michael's a smart guy. He's going to translate Donald Trump's conduct, behavior, and language for the jury. He's a translator. And that's why he's so important. So putting aside all this sideshow, which sort of makes us all chuckle, and the fact that Todd Blanche has to say things like orange turd and prison garb for Donald Trump in a court of law, it's time for Michael Cohen to deliver inside of a courtroom and to swear under oath to tell the truth. And then tell the truth, just like he did against Donald Trump in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case. And that was compelling testimony that at least one other judge who's similar to Merchan, Judge Engoron, credited and helped him reach the $465 million civil fraud judgment against Donald Trump. I assume the jury has made up their mind already about this case. I will say it again. I've said it before, and I will say it again. Jury science, my own experience tells us, juries make up their mind in the first week or two of a trial. Usually after opening statements, checking out the lawyers, listening to their stories, and after the first one or two witnesses. This jury is ready, I believe, to convict Donald Trump already. If you could poll the jury at the beginning about where their head is at, and then look at their verdict at the end, there's going to be a match. Jurors just wait for it doesn't matter how long the trial is. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 3 days, juries make up their mind that quickly. They just wait for the lawyers to shut their pie holes and stop talking, and the witnesses too, so they can get to vote. And so I think they've made up their mind, and Michael Cohen will only be the final dagger, right? The final nail in the coffin of Donald Trump in the presentation of all of the evidence. It'll be Michael Cohen, maybe one or two witnesses after that, because I don't think you want to end with Michael Cohen for reasons, because he's going to, even though just as a commentary, and I'll do a separate hot take on it, Susan Nicholas did a terrible, terrible job cross-examining Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels was a little bit of a push, a little bit of I thought on balance she did well in her direct examination, but she took on some water, but she acquitted herself so well. And in her counterpunching against Susan Nicholas, who seemed overmatched in her approach, because she took it from you are a lying, cheating woman, aren't you? And that's the wrong foot to start off on, especially with a jury like this one. And so it gave Stormy plenty of opportunities as a courageous testifier to punch Susan Nicholas right back in the face over and over and over again for 3 hours, ringing the wrong bell for Donald Trump's team. And I thought it was a very smart move in the redirect by the prosecutors when they asked Stormy Daniels, obviously knowing, I think, what the response would be, but sometimes you do it in the moment, and maybe you haven't rehearsed this particular question. So overall, Miss Daniels, was your experience with Mr. Trump a positive one or a negative one? And she almost burst into tears and choked back and said, negative. Compelling for the jury. Michael Cohen will do the same thing. I don't think he's going to cry on the stand. But Michael has a compelling story to tell under oath that's truthful and authentic about what happened. And I think the jury will see him as a truth teller when it comes to this, despite his other some other baggage that will be unpacked for the jury again during cross-examination. We'll follow it all on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. We don't blow smoke or sunshine. We just report it, no matter what it is, right here at the intersection of law and politics. Join me on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Legal AF, and then on audio podcast platforms of your choice. I do hot takes like this about every day, if not every hour, on the MeidasTouch Network. And you can follow me, Michael Popok. Go over to YouTube, MeidasTouch, look for contributors or playlists. You'll find my name and about 1,000 or so of these hot takes. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.